Hi everyone, welcome to the KineMaster Education Center. You are watching the program which is known as Presentation of Education. In this video, we are going to discuss about the vectors in algebra. But the first thing we need to identify and do, in my previous we've discussed about vectors in physics. What do we know about vector in physics first of all? Vectors, it is a kind of a physical quantities, we know about it. But it's the most sequentially about the most consequences which can be followed and can be determined by arrow lists represents the vector lists. It is the basic terms vectors can be defined as it is a type of physical quantities which has a magnitude and direction. For the first time, we need to know what is vectors mean. In addition to the physical quantities, it classifies into two. First is scalar, the second is a vector, right? So, what we understand about in the scalar, it has magnitude only, but there is no direction. While vector, it has both magnitude and direction. Let me give you an example for scalar quantity. Such a scalar quantity like distance, mass, speed, energy, and temperature. While vector, it can represent the arrow. Let's see, like acceleration, velocity, force, momentum, and displacement. And there are the way you need to follow about it. But now let's follow the vectors in algebra. One of the most for the vector in algebra is using with the initial pointers, and the vector can represent by arrow, what we have learned it in physics also. But we need to follow in algebra. How can we represent the coordinate axes in the coordinate planes by using the vector? But the first thing is we need to know whether the vector is given in the two coordinate axes in the vectors. We need to know what's the major things. There are two coordinate vectors in planes like x1, write the bracket like x1 comma y1, then another vector y1 comma y2, or you can say like that x1 comma y1 or x2 comma y2. This is the two-dimensional coordinate plane, while the third three coordinates dimensional plane, like we can say like that x1 comma y1 comma z1 and x2 comma y2 comma z2. But now you can identify like this. We need to follow by this in the following, by the coordinate vectors in the, when we say the comma with the n spaces like x1 up to x2 up to xn, you can say like this, that we can say the point. There is a point represented from the n spaces x1, then comma x2 up to x3 is the three dimension, and the n spaces x1 x2 up to xn, anything you like. When we state like that in the vector with the a to b vector, there is initial point, and a point on the two coordinate plane is p, x1 and y1, and the three coordinate plane is x1 y1 and z1. We can simplify like that. When we draw on the vectors on the graph of the Cartesian with the vector a to b, there is a1 and a2 and b1 and b2. So write the vector a to b, b1 minus a1 and b2 minus a2 using by the formula like this. When we see the magnitude of vector by using the vector a to b, the magnitude of a to b must be square root of b1 minus a1 square plus b2 minus a2 square. So in there is a vector addition must be v equals to a1 b1 and u is a2 b2. So write v plus u, then we need to write it a1 plus a2, then b1 plus b2. And now every time we need to follow this equation. In addition to that, this is the vector addition. When we see to the vector subtraction, we can draw like the graph like this: v minus u, v plus minus u, a1 b1 plus minus a2 minus b2, a1 plus minus a2, b1 plus minus b2. Write a1 minus a2 must be b1 minus b2. We can use 1.5 and 2.5 or 3.5 by using the row vectors and column vectors. Two vectors u and v are equal, written u is equal to v, if they have the same number of components and if the corresponding components are equal. Although the vectors 1, 2, and 3 and 2, 3, and 1 contain the same three numbers, these vectors are not equal because corresponding interests are not equal. The vector 0, 0, 0, whose interests are all 0, is called the zero vector. Suppose that the vectors is given with the equation by formula to determine whether if the u which equals to v, it's called equality of vectors, whether the vector u and vector v are equals. So this is issues we're going to see about the equation. So please let's follow about what is the equality of vectors. Let's check the equation, please. And this equation is given the question here: find x, y, z such that x minus y, x plus y, and z minus 1 which equals to 4, 2, 3. Remember this, we need to determine the first thing. We use x minus y and then x plus y and z minus 1 is given here. The first coordinate is x minus y and 4. X minus y which equals to 4. It must be x equals to 4 plus y. Substitute the first equation. On the first time we need to follow how to determine by using this equation. X minus y and then x plus y, then z minus 1. Well, then 4 and 2 and 3. There's the second coordinates, x plus y which equals to 2. Then 4 plus y which equals to 2. 4 plus 2y which equals to 2. 2y which equals to 2 minus 4. 2y which equals to minus 2. So divide both by 2. Y which equals to minus 1. We find it to substitute y which equals to minus 1. Substitute here on the first equation y which equals to minus 1. 4 plus minus 1 is 3. On the last, x minus y and x plus z equals to z minus 1. 4, 2, 3. Z minus 1 equals to 3. So z which equals to 3 plus 1 which equals to z which equals to 4. We got it the same vectors and the same equation like that. So let's check it on the equation now.